Hi there, this is Solitary Ronan from Solitary Ronan Films, and welcome to our random review. Today's random review is from 2019, and it's Tezuka'S Barbara. This is a family affair. This is based on a manga by Osamu Tezuka, and this was made by his son Makoto Tezuka on the anniversary of his 90th birthday. The reason that this film piqued my interest is that the manga was a loose reworking of the Tales of Hoffmann, mostly based on the stories by E.T.A. Hoffmann, who was a German writer who also wrote the novella that Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker is based on. But obviously Tales of Hoffmann is more famous as the Offenbach's opera, which was the last one he wrote. He actually died 4 months before the premiere of the opera, which I didn't know before. And obviously Tales of Hoffmann by Paul and Pressburger is one of my favourite Paul and Pressburger films. Now, you don't really need to have watched or be familiar with the Tales of Hoffmann to enjoy Barbara. It doesn't follow it exactly, word for word or anything like that, but there's a couple of moments that you'll recognise, a couple of scenes you'll recognise if you are familiar with the Tales of Hoffmann. Obviously this is transported to Japan, and it's the Shinjuku area of Tokyo, which is kind of the red light district and the underbelly. Obviously Takashi Miike has made several films there. And again, it is about a writer who writes popular books, but they're fairly pulpy, instantly forgettable but enjoyable and popular. As people say, they're more interested in the character of the writer, played by Goro Inagi, who's been in Takashi Miike films. But obviously he wants to be a serious writer, and then he meets this character called Barbara, played by Fumi Nikado, who has been in Ishii films and Miike films and Sono films. So she's used to being in 18 certificate films, put it this way. And this is 18. I won't tell you what the back says it's an 18 for. That gives away one of its more interesting scenes. But there is some of that sexy stuff in the film. So if you're not a fan of sexy stuff, then perhaps you shouldn't watch. And she is homeless and drunk when he picks her up and takes her home to offer her more booze, and she is a bit of a force of nature, and then she ends up being a muse, and any time he gets involved with other women, she tends to turn up and advise him. He becomes obsessed, and again, in the trail of trying to be a better writer, a less shallow writer, to produce something deep, he follows her down a rabbit hole of deprivation and other things. The companion character in this version of the Tales of Hoffmann is more the PA that obviously holds a candle for him, but he's not interested, he doesn't treat her very well. And you've also got another, perhaps less talented writer that is kind of interested in what he does, played by Kohiko Shibukawa, who's also been in Miike films and Toyota films, and you'd recognise his face instantly. The film is shot by Christopher Doyle, so it does look absolutely beautiful. And again, we do get a sense of the underbelly of Tokyo. You know, they go to strange bars, and the strange pacts agreed. The score is very jazzy, to kind of be inspired to start writing. He plays fairly aggressive atonal jazz, or some people would say the best kind of jazz. And you do get into the world of the writer and the muse. Of course, if you're familiar with Tales of Hoffmann, you can kind of figure out how it's going to end. Excuse me. There is actually deleted scenes and an alternate ending, which is interesting to see. I still haven't actually made up my mind which ending I prefer. There's behind the scenes, as in quite a lot of third window releases, and there's also interviews with staff and cast, and this is a Blu-ray DVD combo set. So it is a very enjoyable riff on the Tales of Hoffmann. Again, you don't have to be familiar with the Tales of Hoffmann to enjoy it, I don't think, but you do get an extra kind of little bit of joy from the callbacks to the Tales of Hoffmann. But again, it's a way of taking a story and making it your own. So it's not, as I say, it's not scene for scene or anything like that. But it is very good, even though it is a pretty hard 18, I would say, if you'll pardon the pun, because there is a lot of that sexy stuff in it. But it also is a good portrayal of a portrait of an artist trying to be better than he actually is. Because you have to remember, the thing that I really enjoy about the Tales of Hoffmann is the fact the guy isn't that talented. He is a bit of an idiot, and he might not actually be successful in the end, which is kind of the antithesis of the usual story featuring a hero. And generally, heroes get to win in the end and everything works out fine. But this perhaps isn't the case in Barbara. The actual manga ran from 1973 to 1974. If you're interested, you can perhaps find it along with Tezuka'S other works. But please let me know if you've seen Tezuka'S Barbara and what you think of it. I thought it was rather good. Not quite a 5-star film. It does kind of lose its way a little bit in the second half, but it is absolutely wonderful, and I'd highly recommend picking it up. And you can watch it in a double bill with Pill and Pressburger's Tales of Hoffmann. So this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, saying farewell.